Trial and Error is back for another week. We're heading into New Year's, and so our show is going to be talking some New Year's stuff, specifically how to build a better resolution. Um, and Fearless and I, we're talking off air. We both have uh, different but shared perspectives on this thing, and so that's what we're going to be talking about. Um, Real quick, we've been doing this at the top of the show. Um, Fearless, what are you reading, man?
You know what? Funny enough, man, I think I'm gonna start reading The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Um, it's a nonfiction book. What did I just finish? I just finished. Let me look. Sorry, y'all. Give me a second. I just finished. God, just finished another book too. And which one? What was it? Okay, I already finished that one. What other book did I read? I don't remember. It'll come to me in a little bit.
Okay.
But I just read. Gosh, damn, whose book was that? The honorable death of Babs Dion.
Okay.
So if you want to look that up or whatever, that's what I read. Your personal. So.
I'm not seeing it. Babs Dion.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, the savage noble death of Babs.
Yeah, it's there it is. That's what I read.
Okay.
Yep. So that's what I read. I just finished reading that, and then before that, I read this little book here, "The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect,"
Okay.
which is a novel or whatever. It was okay. I gave this one a 3.8 out of 5 or whatever. It was pretty cool.
All right. All right.
But it's more of like it's like when AI understands reality and then it starts to manifest and add things and take things away. It was okay. I've read better with AI taking over type stuff.
Okay.
But this one was. I mean, it was all right.
So the one I picked up, I literally just started this one this morning, dropping my son off at wrestling practice. It's The Four Conversations by Blair Enns.
Show me. Let me see it.
All right, let me pull it up here. Stop sharing that one. I have it up here.
The four. Okay.
And more or less, it's the concept of how to frame things if you're selling expertise, because he talks about the different phases that he went through as a business owner, working in marketing, having his own agency, moving into consulting, and then turning as a consultancy into a teaching business. And he talks about basically the stuff that worked in one context when you are a vendor, from a sales standpoint, doesn't work when you're selling your expertise and having people paying you for your thinking or paying you to teach them how to do something. And so a lot of it is how a person basically is how you reframe yourself in the conversation as the expert and lead as the expert all the way through the pricing conversation, all the way through that negotiation. But basically, it's just the model of how we sell expertise. I read another one of his books called The Win Without Pitching Manifesto, which is a lot about positioning, marketing positioning and stuff. And, where it takes you out, it shifts the power dynamic in terms of how you pitch work. That book is the one that got me that $42,000 contract. I followed the prescription of how he laid it out in the Win Without Pitching Manifesto, and that's how we got it. So this guy's put money in my pocket, and so I'm really, so far so good. It's really intriguing, like the idea of how um, the vendor pitches versus how the person that's selling the expertise, how the expert selling the expertise pitches. Um, and so, like I said,
No, I just bought it.
oh,
So when it comes in, I'll sit down and give it a ganders.
but yeah, it's a pretty good book. And like I said, that book got me. That book actually, the first book he wrote actually put money in my pocket. And he has a podcast that's really good too. I forgot what the name is, but um,
Okay.
so what's going on, Ryan?
So man.
So
Hey Ryan, what books are you reading? Matter of fact, the rest of you guys, anybody else reading anything good?
yeah, drop the books in the
Like, yeah, but drop the books in the comments, man.
yeah, drop the recommendations in
Like,
the
yeah,
comments.
please do. I will, depending on what it is, I will buy it, I will read it, I will review it.
Yep.
And I don't care what it is. But here's the thing, and I always tell everybody, if you recommend a book to me, please make sure that there's a physical and an audio version of it.
Yeah.
Please. Because
Well,
I'll buy both.
and guys, here's the thing. The reason why we're pushing the reading thing, we talked about it last week, the week before. The only way that we combat this creeping regular illiteracy and media literacy is actually becoming literate in these in different things. And part of flexing the muscle of literacy is actually reading, comprehending, processing information, forcing those pathways in your brain to activate, because they go away if you don't. If you don't pursue them, they go away.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's kind of the prescription for that.
So, let's see. This week, we're in the New Year's, and one of the features of New Year's, and specifically in the United States, is the concept of the New Year's resolution. The New Year's resolution is that time where you sit down and you take stock of where your life is and the things that you got going on in your world, and then you make a calculated decision about the things that you're going to change, and then you give yourself the date of January 1st. I'm going to make this change starting new year, new me, right? Like that kind of stuff, right? And so I have a very different perspective on the entire concept of New Year's resolutions. It comes a lot from my background in terms of behavior management, behavioral modification, teaching people how to adapt new skills in their lives and things like that, and actually training the principles of behavior. Um, Fearless has a perspective based on his experience working in the trenches hands-on with people looking to make transformational changes in their world. And so that's the conversation. How do we build a better New Year's resolution? Right? Because the clock is ticking, right? For a lot of you, the clock is ticking. Like that big hairy change that you want to make is only about 48 hours away.
Yeah, literally.
Less than that. And so we're trying to put you on the right foot so that you can make sure that these changes stick. Because typically the typical thing with the New Year's resolution is you make 5 of them, and then you start the process of trying to do all of them at the same time on New Year's. And then by January, you're making next year's resolutions to do the resolutions that you were going to do this year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, and it basically just becomes a whack-a-mole of goal setting and planning and all that stuff, whatever. And for the most part, it's not. Here's the thing: like one of the things that I try to get people to understand is that it's not you; it's a societal type of thing or whatever that we're trying to jump to this finish line of looking to see what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is, versus where you are in your life, and you're like, man, I want to do better with my credit. I want to do better with weight. I want to, or eating or exercise or whatever else and stuff. And I think that instead of looking at things from that standpoint, from a goal standpoint, and again, this is a life coach telling you this. I would look at things from a philosophical standpoint, from a question standpoint, from a principle standpoint. One of the things that I love about the beginning of my birthday, which is December 26th, is the start of Kwanzaa, right?
Hmm.
And I have this written up, whatever, but it's each day focuses on one principle, often symbolizing lighting a candle uh, within that particular day. Now, if you really wanted to, you can take each one of these things, which is like unity, self determination, collective work,
Hmm.
cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. So you have all of these different principles going, but and then you can start asking yourself certain questions. Which for myself, I started asking myself questions, which is like, what room do I want to be in this year? Um, what who do I have to become to get into that room?
Hmm.
Who do I need to become? Who do I need to tap in with to get tapped on the shoulder to become to go sit at that particular table?
Right.
Because you got to remember, every room that you go into, for the most part, you're invited
Hmm.
to these rooms. They're invitations, which means they're earned. You got to earn your right to go there, right? So if a person was, and so if we're talking, so if I say that, and I'm always talking about this, that I want to be and when I grow up, I'm 47 years old. When I grow up, I want to be the I want to be the new LeVar Burton. And if you know who LeVar Burton was, he's the guy from Reading Rainbow.
Hmm.
That was my objective, and that is still my objective to this day. Or whatever, right? Now, again, so the question I would ask myself is, what 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 rooms do I want to be in? What do I need to do to, number one, maybe bring that show back, or maybe one, let's make it a little smaller. What do I need to do within my little ecosystem to get people energized and reading again?
Okay.
That's one simple question, something that I know for a fact that I can do. That in it, that's it's something that's on me. It's not something that's on you. It's something that's on me. Now, whether you read or not, that's on you. But making it something that's fun, something that's energizing, this, that, or the other, that's on me.
Right.
Right. One of the things that Grant Cardone said, he's a marketing salesman, but he said, if you don't know my name, that's my fault. Let's think about that.
Hmm.
If you don't know my name, that's on me. I wouldn't. I don't blame you for not knowing who I am. But if this is my objective, if this is my goal, and this is also the fact or the problem that people have with New Year's resolutions, is that we tell everybody about our stuff and then
Yep.
we don't do shit about it. Because for the most part, ain't nobody gonna hold you accountable for it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some people won't. Unfortunately, if you say that to me, we about to have a whole ass problem.
Yeah.
Just saying, because I mean, because of what I do. But for the most part, man, I just put it out there, right? But if you have no intention of doing anything today about it, you're probably not going to do anything in the next 2 days either.
Well, and that kind of
That's all I'm saying.
that goes into my point. One of the things is when people sit down and make that New Year's resolution, you are taking a wager on your future self. Your current self's taking a wager on your future self, and your future self is going to be this person that has all this discipline, is locked in and focused on the goal, and knows exactly what to do to bring about the change. That's the gamble that you're making with your present self. You're saying future self is going to be a different person than I am now. And a lot of times when we do that, we are setting ourselves up to fail, because my perspective is a lot of times when it comes to New Year's resolutions, typically what we do is we have like 5 different things we want to change. We're going to make all of those changes starting New Year's.
Yeah, starting New Year's, right?
I'm gonna eat better, lose weight, start working out, um, start figuring out how I'm gonna escape this job, all this other stuff that you got going on. And your brain likes normalcy. It likes feeling like what its version of normal is. And sometimes that's a bad thing. Like if your brain is adapted to a negative traumatic environment and that's your normal, your brain will fight to get back to that version of normal.
Right.
And so whatever your benchmark for normal is, your brain's going to fight to maintain it. And so understand when you try to make all of these changes on New Year's at the same time, you're setting yourself up for defeat. And then by November or by February or even March, you're kind of tapping out. I've noticed it going to the gym. Like New Year's now it's hot. Everybody's at the gym right now. And then everybody starts filtering out as January becomes February, becomes March. People start filtering out, trickling out of it because their brains are forcing them back to whatever their version of normal is.
And that's usually what happens to whatever. Like your brain goes back to it's basically the 3-month rule. Mm-hmm. So 90 days to 3 months. That's the reason why, like, if you buy something, if you do something, if you got a promotion, you're gonna get used. Everything normalizes within 30 days. Excuse me, within 90 days, everything will normalize. Sorry. That house that you have, the car that you buy, the relationship that you're in, most stuff normalizes in 90 days. So if you ever wonder, like, man, like, why don't I still feel the same way? That's why. Because your mind automatically will normalize everything around it. Everything.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just like, as I get older, I start thinking like, damn, dude, like time is flying. Right?
Right.
But here's the thing, when you're a kid, time takes forever. But it really doesn't though, because you do so many novel things that it starts to what is that word? Compound. That time just drags on because you're doing so many new things. When you get older, think about it. You don't do that many new things anymore. Everything you've already done this. You've already done that. So time just kind of just flies by.
And it's one of those things. I think also when you're a kid, you are like kids dream about the future and stuff like that. But since they don't really have life experience to really visualize what future state looks like, they'll think about the future. But most of the time, kids are in the moment. They're in and of the moment. And that's why days seem to go on forever for kids because you're in school all day and it's like it's boring and it takes forever and it's never going to end. It feels like this never-ending loop, right? But really what that means is you're getting more experience. So as you get older, you get more experience, you get more years behind you, you're able to better construct what future looks like. And so you're able to live in the future a little bit in your mind. And so the present becomes a blur and you end up being in the future. Sometimes as an adult, it is more important to actually drag yourself back into the present and live in the moment. And being grateful for the moment and enjoying the moment is important because it gives you a different perspective on things. But yeah, children, they're trapped in the moment because that's everything, all their entire life experience just led up to this specific moment. And so they don't really think on that future scope just because they don't have a frame of reference to imagine what a future world looks like for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And their look back window is a lot shorter about what it used to be. If you're like 7, you probably remember less than half your life. You know what I'm saying? If you're 7, because there's like 3 or 4 years where everything's just kind of a blur, where all the memories are hazy, and then one day you start remembering stuff and cataloging stuff in your brain. So your look back window at 7 is a lot shorter than somebody's look back window at 45.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that's just but anyway, so
I mean, without some type of massive like head trauma or something like that, for sure.
And so the thing is, I don't want people to feel called out, but I mean, sometimes it's necessary. The pattern that we adapt around New Year's resolutions is problematic because what that does is it gets a lot of people thinking that they're failures. It gets a lot of people thinking that they're hopeless, because they make these resolutions every year and they struggle to keep them.
Right.
And the what we're saying is the framework that you guys are operating off is flawed, and that's what makes the change difficult. You know,
Yeah, that's all it is.
and it doesn't matter how much, because every 7 years your body changes. Okay, I'll take that one.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, thanks, Vinny. Um, like I said, the thing about it is, what you what books are you reading, Vinny?
Yeah, what books are reading?
Uh, So, and that's one of the things, like, guys, we're saying that build a better resolution means that we change the framework of how we adapt to change and how we set the stage for that change. Because understanding that change is a process, and there's a systematic way that you can implement change in your life that will actually yield results.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to set big, huge, scary, hairy, audacious goals, but understand, when you set a big, huge, hairy, audacious goal, your first step has to be audacious. It's got to be dramatic. It's got to be something that moves you on that pathway and kind of burns the bridge. But you got to cross the Rubicon to get that thing started. And a lot of people have the vision of this hairy, audacious goal that they want to make, but then they step into it timidly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to make that massive radical change stepping into it timidly. Now, there are caveats to that. Weight loss, if you're going for a weight loss goal, crash dieting doesn't work. But your hairy audacious goal may be, okay, I'm gonna go through my fridge and identify things that aren't good for me and give them away to the food bank. You know, an assertive step forward. I'm going to remove my ability to not execute the thing that I need to execute. Okay.
Right.
So there's two frames of thinking with it. So, and I've actually done this in a video. And so, I'm trying not to dominate too much with my stuff here, but the video I did was New Year's resolutions are bullshit. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saying that kind of in a tongue-in-cheek way, because I don't necessarily think that we adapt the right framework when we're setting these things up. My thing is, if you're going to make a change, you start now. You start making the change as soon as you say this thing needs to change, then you find one thing that you start changing, start moving yourself towards that goal, so that you can
Correct.
start building momentum. So by the time New Year's rolls around, your resolution is really just I resolve to complete something that I already started.
Mm-hmm. And then at that point, it becomes a lifestyle as opposed to something that you have to get ready for, because change, kind of like you said, happens within a blink of an eye. What takes so long is the preparation for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm gonna change on the first. Hey, man, you got 3 months.
Right.
So why not just do it now?
Yeah.
And then when 3 months comes, it's a lifestyle change for you.
Well,
You're already past that 90 days. You're already past that 100 days. And that's when it's really gonna start, really mattering.
Well, and one of the things is the extinction burst, right? Like, as you're extincting a behavior, which means as you're phasing a behavior out, more times
Mhm.
than not, what happens is your body fights so hard to maintain that behavior that it completely crashes out and
Mhm.
dives all in to and fights you against the thing that you're trying to change. That's why people, you know, will be on a diet and then they have this binge day where they just eat everything that they're not supposed
Yeah,
to eat,
smash everything,
and
right?
then instantly they feel horrible about it, and then the diet is kaput. What that really is your extinction burst. What you should do is you make the change to your diet, you factor in the fact that you're going to have an extinction burst, and you try to adjust for it, which
Right.
means you
And
might,
go
okay,
ahead. Go ahead.
well, what that looks like is you might give yourself days off, or you
Mhm.
might give yourself grace periods, like, okay, I'm on this diet. I made this change. The extinction burst is I'm absolutely going to hog out on a bunch of stuff that I'm not supposed to be eating. I need to account for that and account that my brain is going to push me in that direction.
Mm.
And if it happens, I need to rebalance and say, okay, now let's try this again. And ideally, the extinction burst gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where it doesn't exist as much anymore. I experienced that when I was on this kind of bodybuilding, weight loss kind of thing. I had the extinction burst and I worked through it. And it got lesser and lesser and lesser to the point where I didn't even crave the foods that kickstarted the initial extinction burst. But it's the consistency of doing it.
Right.
To where your body adapts to the new version of how we're doing things.
There's this book called Change Anything, and it's created by Change Anything Labs. And basically, this is like I remember I read this like years ago, but it's the new science of personal success within itself. Now they call these people changers. A changer is somebody who had one thing, right? Mm-hmm. Then they had the desire, so then they had to change it. But then that change has to be at least 2 years. Mm-hmm. So they had to have kept that change for 2 years to be considered a changer. And everything that you literally just said is literally one of the things that they talked about mm-hmm. on there as well. So like one of my personal favorites is for myself personally is I love Godfather's Pizza. Mm-hmm. Like I don't like Godfather's, I love Godfather's, right? But I also know that, man, I have a massive addiction to Godfather's Pizza. So I will give myself, I'm like, all right, bro, you can have that once a week. Mm-hmm. But you can't have a large, you can only have a small.
Yep.
Right. And there's 2 types. I love meat lovers and I love my favorite is classic combo, no mushroom, easy onion. Mm-hmm. So instead of me doing like the medium family feast or whatever, I'll do a small half meat lover, half classic combo, no meat, no mushroom, easy onion, right? Mm-hmm. So I get my shit out of the way. Yeah, if that makes any sense or whatever.
Makes sense.
So it's kind of like you just said, you're adding that into the fact that you're going to mess up. I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I can't have a lot of stuff, whatever. So I really have to watch what I'm consuming constantly. But I also know me, so I'll be like, all right, cool. I'm not going to get a big thing, but let me grab a swig mm-hmm. of this here because, man, I've been aching for this shit over here. You see what I mean? So, but that's how I'm able to do things because of books like this here, because it teaches you how to change certain things about. And again, it's different for each person. But if you really think about it, the principles are for the most part the same. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the objective might be a little different, but what you're doing is all the same. It's all the same shit. So they went through all the things of people that have trial and error, and figured out what worked. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about it is that they kept all the things that didn't work so they could tell you, hey, just in case you have any questions, hey, this is what was tried. They tried this over here, and these are the percentages that happened. This is the outcome they got from it. Whereas this right here are the statistical individuals who've actually accomplished all of these things over here. This is how they did it. This is why they did it. So for one of the people, if Godfathers is on their way home, they would take a different direction.
Yep.
Like just in general, because they know Like, bro, no. Or again, set a particular date. Wednesday, I'll go there in 2 days.
Yeah.
I'll go there in 2 days. So you can still drive past it, but I'll go there in 2 days.
Well, and the entire thing is about restriction-based diets because we're talking about that's kind of what we're talking about. Restriction-based diets kind of puts you in that mode where I'm going to restrict this thing that I absolutely love, and I'm going to not do it. And what happens is
Right.
that thing that you restricting takes a bigger and bigger piece. Like normally you wouldn't be thinking about it as much as you do, but now that you can't have it, it's all you think about.
Right.
And you're restricting the thing that you actually enjoy. And when you finally get to enjoy that thing, it dumps all those feel good chemicals into your body and stuff like that.
You get that dopamine hit, and oh
Yeah,
my god, it
and
just keeps going.
then you get addicted to the dopamine hit, and then you set yourself up for a future. I'm gonna binge all this food. I'm gonna sit here and eat all this food and stuff because the dopamine hit is what you're addicted to instead of the
Right.
food. And so
Yeah.
restriction-based diets are problematic. Instead of adjusting your portion size, because you can adjust your portion size down where I'm going to get some of what I like, I'm just going to get a little bit less of it. And
But
sometimes it's getting a medium fry instead of a large fry. And then
but
you go down to the small fry. You're still getting the thing that you
you
like,
still
you're just
getting
getting
it,
less of it.
right? But they also did a thing about money too, because of people being in debt and this and the other. And again, one of the books that I try to tell people, again, that's a lot smaller than this one,
Mhm.
is The Richest Man in Babylon, when he talks about what is it? I think it's like 7 different principles in which they talk about that. Hold on one sec. But again, though, one of the things is to pay yourself first.
Mhm.
I think the first one is to live below your means, and then the second principle is to pay yourself first, right? But that's the one thing that most people do not do. Most people who get money pay off bills, pay off entertainment, luxury, all this other type of stuff or whatever. And then whatever's left, they'll put into savings. Whatever's left, they'll put into investments. Whatever's left, they'll put into their future. When I read that book, it took me years. It took me homelessness. It took me sleeping on my friend's couch. It having cars repossessed to having a credit score of 820. So I could tell you how that worked. I could tell you what I did. I can tell you all that stuff. But the one thing that helped more so than anything was, like you said, live below your means and pay yourself first.
Mhm.
I try to teach that to my kid now. He's 13 years old. I'm like, son, anytime you get something, take 1 to 5% away.
Right.
Just put it somewhere else. It's not even yours. Matter of fact, that is your money. Everything else you're gonna do, you're gonna give it to some gas station. You're gonna go give it to a friend. You're gonna go give it to somebody else. But what's left for you? So take yours first, and then pay everything else out. Why do you think the government, when you get paid,
Yeah.
why do y'all think that the government takes their money first and then gives you your money second?
Right.
Like they're not playing. They caught on to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But because back in the day, it wasn't like that. You got a bill at the end of the year, and that you had to give the government money, and then people just wasn't paying it. So then they're like, okay, no, we need to get our money when they get paid,
Yeah. We're gonna get it
not
now.
at the end of the year. We need to take it now. So what they would do is that that's what they did. I think it was around. I think it was after World War I or II, or one of which whatever those whatever war
Mhm.
we were at. They're like, all right, well, we need our money a little faster, and then that's when they started kind of doing that. But think about it: if the government takes their money right then and there, why would you not pay yourself first? The government, and think about it. Think about what the government does with our money. Let's say, I mean,
Yeah.
really think out this. We're not going there, but I'm just saying, pay yourself first.
Yeah.
I'm look at what who is it look at what Alaska does with money, that the oil companies, they give it to the people because they're like, why would I give it to a government who's just gonna go mess it up somewhere?
Yeah.
These people don't know how to deal with money at all. They don't know what they're doing, so we'll give it to the people and they give it to them. So again, I mean, and I got this just from reading a book that talked about it.
So let me continue on. Let me get on my point here with this. Um, and one of my lights just went out. One of the things is, so when I was trying, like I've been a gym rat for a long time. Um, off and on since high school, I was always in the weights or what. I get back into it after a pretty long layoff, about a year or two. And I'm like, I want to get as strong as I can. I'm going to see how strong I can get. Now, this is mid 30s. Basically, I'm like, going to see how strong I can possibly get myself. Because in your 30s, that's where your peak grown man strength comes in.
Hmm.
Like mid 30s is when a lot of power lifters, that is the peak of their career, that is physically as strong as they are going to ever be.
Oh wow.
And so I'm like, let me see how far I can get into it. And it started out with, small goals like, okay, I want to bench press 315 pounds. Okay, I got that. I want to squat 500 pounds. All right, I got that.
Hmm.
And my elusive goal was deadlift. First it was 500, and then it jumped up to 600 once 500 got easy. It's like deadlift over 600 pounds. The way I did it, and this goes into the audacious, radical change. And I didn't know it was audacious at the time. I'm telling you that I'm prefacing this by saying this. The program I was following was a simple starting strength program. 3 sets of 5, add 5 pounds to the bar every session until you can't add 5 pounds to the bar anymore, and then dial it back to 2.5 pounds. And so I did that, and I got through what they call the novice linear progression, and I hit the wall where, okay, I'm at my max. The thing that I was doing wrong, I had misread the exercise template because I was doing deadlifts multiple times a week, 3 sets of 5 at near peak weight,
Hmm.
15 reps at peak weight. And it beat me up, but I got real I jumped. I made a huge leap in how much I was able to lift on that bar because I had misread the exercise. Because in the original exercise is you do this 1 by 5, 1 set of 5, maybe once or twice a week. I was doing it 3 days a week.
Hmm.
And so saying that to say this, that jumped me from struggling with 315 pounds on the bar to that becoming my baseline. Like I warm up with that and leapfrogging past that. It was audacious. The only reason I could have done that was because I was kind of adapted to lifting in that mind frame, and it didn't absolutely destroy. There's a reason why it didn't destroy me, but it got me super, super strong. I could not maintain that, but it got me to the goal. And the thing that got me to the goal was those repetitions, those uncomfortable reps to the point where I hated going to the gym. I hated deadlifting, which is still my favorite lift. I got to the point where I hated it, but since I was adapted to it, I couldn't not do it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Since I was used to it, since I had built that habit over 6 months, then a year, I could not exist without going and doing that thing that I hated. And that's how I got up to it. Where I walked in one day, and I said, "All right, let's see where we go with this," and get up to the 600 pounds. The plates wouldn't even fit on the bar without help. Like we had to do some kind of weird rigging up with the bar because the bar was not long enough for the amount of plates that I was pulling on that thing, based on the plates we were using, the bumper plates, because they're a little bit thicker than your regular plates. I think it was because 595 out of 45 to that. So I was probably pulling about six. It wasn't 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 plates. I wasn't pulling, it wasn't all plates. Like I had to put, it was like somewhere, it was like 615 or something like that. 615, 620. And the reason why I'm saying 615 and 620, I'm giving you averages, is because I did it more than one time. And that was that's the most I've ever pulled. That next live, bro, Vinny, you asking when the next live is. We're here every Tuesday. Every Tuesday morning, around 10:30 is when we're on live. I appreciate you tuning in, man. Thank you so much. So it was incremental change, but it was an audacious goal, because 600 pounds, that's more than twice my body weight.
Mm.
But in order to get there, I had to start audaciously, and it ended up becoming a habit. And more times than not, people aren't able to start audaciously. They want to start timidly. And that's not the way that you make massive change in your life. But also, you don't make radical change in your life by saying, okay, on January 1st, I'm going to make this huge, massive, this life altering change that's going to impact every single aspect of my life and be difficult for me to maintain. I'm going to make that on this specific day without putting in place any kind of other behaviors or anything to build up to that thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You have to build a framework that allows your change to stay in place.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it almost impossible for you to fail in that sense. You have to lay the bed and make it very difficult for you not to live up to what you said you were going to do.
Right.
But and most people don't do that before New Year's.
No, not whatsoever. And I mean, I think that that's also the reason why we and again, I think that what you just said, yeah, hits the nail right on the head. Like, I mean, we start a particular way, but we don't end that way at all. And if you're not planning to end that way, then dude, it's already over before you started. Just like, doing my 100 days, 100 nights.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it one day at a time. I couldn't do 100 days in one day. You know what I mean? Like you do one day at a time. And I mean, now I can, because I did it before,
yeah,
I can jump on and do it, which is really weird for me, because if I'm not doing it every single day anymore, it's not even worth doing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I'm so used to just every day. And I came on at the same time at 8:30. I think it was 8:30?
Yep.
8:30 to 10 o'clock. Brand new material every single night for 100 days. Get out of here, dude. Ain't nobody doing that.
What's that? It's that. What is it? That you might be able to correct me on this. It's the hedonic adaptation, right? Like your new, human beings can adapt to a new normal baseline.
Anything.
You're going to get back to your relative state of happiness, regardless of what you're encountering. So that's why a lot of times lottery winners aren't over the moon and thrilled about, like, they win the lottery and then it's they win the lottery, you get that big surge, and then all of a sudden everything goes back to normal. It all resets to whatever your relative normal state of happiness is. It becomes that. So if you're already in a happy person, now it does change if the reason why you're unhappy is money. Now, if money is the thing that's making you unhappy, you might be able to, that might be one of those escape hatches, right? But if you're unhappy in general and about the lot of your life and the state of your life, and it doesn't have anything to do with money, it has to do with your personality or other stuff going on in your brain. Once that endorphins run off, wear down from winning that lottery, you're going to be back to your same relative state of happiness.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. I think it was TD, what's his name? TD Jakes, who said, if man or money can solve your problem, you don't have a problem.
Yep.
Think about that. If man or money can solve your problem, you do not have a problem. Man, I thought that was the truest stuff I've ever heard. And kind of piggyback riding off what you just said there. Yeah, I think it's the same. It's the same difference, though, my guy.
Yeah.
It's the same type of stuff. Like if this really isn't for you, then it's not going to be for you.
Right.
And there's nothing that we can say or do that's going to change that particular thing. You either want it or you don't, and you're going to do what it takes. Period. I mean, how many people didn't have any of the equipment that we have, and still went out there and said, "Fuck it," and still made it happen,
Right.
regardless, because that was just their thing. They was gonna make it work, no matter what.
Well, and it's the same.
Cell phone, speakerphone, they don't care. They own it.
It's the same thing I used to tell parents when I was when I was teaching parents. They think that they can come up with this. I'm gonna ground this kid for 2 months,
Right,
and
it's crazy.
and that's going to change the child's behavior. And I had to say, okay, so the thing I need you to understand is this: while you being restricted from something for 2 months might be really damaging to you as an adult, a child will adapt to whatever, they'll adapt to their new normal faster than you can even imagine. And so if you say, I'm going to take everything away from you for 2 months, within about a week, their new existence becomes my life minus all these things, that minus video games and cell
Yep.
phone and all the other stuff. And then they adapt to it. And then eventually they're able to use the fact that that your punishment isn't punishing to them to punish you with it.
So okay, say that one more time.
All right, which part? So
Yeah, that last part. Their punishment is a punishment for you. Say
yeah,
that again.
so they adapt to all the things that you remove from them,
Right.
and they become, they get used to that new life, and it ends up becoming their punishment is actually a punishment for you because you're having to play warden in your own house.
Mhm.
And I've seen kids turn that on its head really, really fast. Like, oh, so mom and dad grounded me for a month. I'm going to become the most irritating person in this house for a month. And the parents end up, by the end of the scope of whatever that punishment is, the parents are relieved that it's over.
Right.
The kid has already adapted to it. So the lesson the kid learns is whatever they throw at me, I can just outlast them.
And then if you keep doing it,
Yeah.
if you keep like, well, yep, you're on punishment again, 3 weeks, cool. And then again, like you just said, eventually you'll just be able to do without.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have a phone, or I don't have a tablet, or I don't have this, I don't have that.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you just get used to not having it. And then it comes to a point where you can't threaten them with that no more because they don't care anymore.
And you can't reward them with that anymore either.
Nope, because you do it constantly.
You can't. The video game loses the Switch or the PS5 or whatever loses its ability to motivate the behaviors out of the kid that you want to see. It's easier to, I hate to say it, but essentially use PlayStation access or use video game or phone access or tablet access. It's easier to use that as a bribe to incentivize them to show the kind of behaviors that you want to see. You reward them whenever you see the behaviors that you want to see, they're more likely to show those behaviors in the future. And so that's the concept. We're trying to punish stuff out of our kids as opposed to rewarding it into them. So if you want to see good grades, you reward them for the good grades, right? I'm not saying that there's no consequence for bad grades, but you can't go overboard to the point where your rewards for good grades no longer matter. And if you say, you're going to lose the video game for a year, they will adapt to that in 2 weeks. And then they'll be all up under you, bugging you, making you feel miserable because they don't have video games, and they're gonna hound you. And so that's the game. Okay. So that's just how human behavior works. We adapt to our new normal pretty quickly. But the other side is we want to maintain normal as much as possible. And our brains want to get back to whatever our relative state of normal is. So it's a double-edged sword. Like I said, you're never going to outpunish a child's ability to adapt.
No one told me.
That's just how it goes. And I don't think people understand that. Especially parents. And so that's why I'm always big about adding new things to your toolbox, because you're not going to outpunish your kid's ability to adapt. Even if it's your behavior reinforcement schedule involves corporal punishment, spankings, and stuff like that. Kids adapt to that. If you ever seen somebody try to spank a 14-year-old, you ever seen how that goes? Unless you're going to put this kid in the hospital, it's not going to work. You can't physically punish them to the point where it matters as much as when they were like 7. Find something else to put in your toolkit. But that also forces you as the adult in the room to adapt a new set of behaviors when it comes to addressing your child's behaviors too. You think I used to teach this stuff, right? So we talk about everybody wants to say they want to make the change when they're ready, but they really don't. Like they set the stage for it, but then they don't take the steps forward to it.
Right, but again, kind of like what we were talking about before, we got to make it very simple.
Yeah.
So if you ask yourself more questions as opposed to putting demands on yourself, I think that you'll be able to accomplish a lot more with questions as opposed to demands.
Well, and so that was actually the next part I was going into was we talk about the concept of making a change. Let's talk about the process, the change process, and what that looks like. What that can look like if we're building better resolutions, we're building better New Year's resolutions. How do we do it? Because we told you how not to do it.
Right.
So what are the tricks of the trade, Fearless? What are some
questions? Questions. Not demands, questions.
Right.
Period. That's all. Here's the thing, especially when you're a novice, questions will help you probably more so than anything else. Now, for myself, because I've been doing this for a minute, like certain principles work for me, but they won't probably work for somebody else.
Exactly.
Or whatever, right? So the first thing, again, like I said before, asking yourself what rooms do you want to be in, ask yourself what experiences would you like to have, or whatever. Now again, it doesn't have to be anything grandiose by any means. It's just an experience. Like, what would you like to experience? Who would you like to experience it with?
Right.
What issues are you bringing in from last year to this year that you should probably clean up this year to move forward? Right? Again, what type of person would you like to become this year? Again, we're just asking questions. That's it. And when you're asking yourself those questions, that's one of those things that allow you to open up a little bit more about conversations that you should probably have. There's probably 2 or 3 people I should probably be having conversations with. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like when I think about what conversations am I willing to have with certain individuals, I have to ask myself.
That's probably on me.
Looks like we're out. Are you there, Brian?
I'm still there.
Yeah. So one of the questions I would have to ask is, okay. So one of the questions I would have to ask is what conversations do I need to have with certain people?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What type of man do I need to become in order to have that conversation with them? And again, this is about going into the next year, but it's not even about the next year. It's about now.
Right.
Who do I need to become today to have those conversations, whether it's today or tomorrow? And there's certain people that if I never spoke to them again, I'd be okay. But I know for a fact that these individuals, or that if I've done something or whatever, like I'm quick as shit to apologize to a tone for my stuff. Like, hey man, my fault. Sorry about that. But how I grew up, my principles, not my questions, my principles have allowed me to walk into a room knowing that I might have been on fuck shit, but I'm here to apologize and to make amends for what I've done. But I but other people may not necessarily see it the same exact way. Right. So let me give you an example right quick. A
Okay.
story right quick. I was thinking about this story of Jesus, and I was thinking about why is it that people, whenever you talk about Judas Iscariot, why does he have such a horrible name? Right now, let me
Right.
ask you. I know you know the story a little bit.
Hmm.
Do you know why he has a horrible story? I'm
Go
just
ahead.
asking. Well, in 2 sentences or less, why is his story so bad? I'm asking you. And it's
Um,
not a trick question. I'm just asking. From what you know about Judas, what did he do
the
that was
betrayer.
so bad that people won't even name their kids the betrayer?
Yeah.
The betrayer.
Yeah.
The betrayal. So I want to show you something right quick. I want you to keep that in mind.
Hmm.
I want to show you something right quick.
And while you're
So
pulling,
we look at Dante's Inferno.
and we're talking about it. I mean,
I hold on.
part, part of my view of Judas, the betrayer, is
I
informed
think they
because
were
I'm.
out again.
Are you sure? I can see you.
Okay, cool.
um Part of my, like, my vantage point of it is, from comic books. And so Judas is actually the Phantom Stranger in DC comic books, and so they have an entire layer, like an entire mythos behind his betrayal that weaves in some of the biblical Judeo-Christian stuff, but then it draws from other sources as well. And so that's what I know, and so I
Yeah,
just
for
view it as
sure.
Judas the betrayer.
Right. I think he was going out.
It does. All right, we'll just adjust, like.
Okay. So yeah, sorry about that. So there's not so in Homeboy is Dante's Infernos, Dante Alighieri, whatever that dude's last name is, or whatever. He wrote this thing in the 1300s, right? And think about the 1300s. The Bible was technically written, King James was written during the 1500s. So
Right.
you got to remember the ideas that we get from hell, the ideas that we get from torture are all based on, a lot of them are based on this guy's work, right? This guy's work. So there's 9 levels of hell. So from the first one is limbo,
Hmm.
which is what's the word? What's the word that we use?
Purgatory.
What
Is
is
it?
that? Purgatory. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's number one. The second is lust. Third is gluttony. Fourth is greed, wrath. Think about that wrath.
Hmm.
See, it's number 6. Now I want you to think about this: violence against others, against self, and against God is 7. 7. We still got 2 more. Being a fraud is number 8.
Hmm.
You want to know the last one? You want to know the one that for the last 1,000 so years, this one is the one that is the worst of them all, even worse than murder,
What?
fucking treachery,
Yeah.
betrayal, betrayal. Now I want you to think about this. He the difference between Judas and the rest of his confederates was that Judas intentionally intentionally turned this man in. Intentionally did it, right?
Right.
But if you look at the 11 other dudes rolling with him, Jesus told them all, "You all gonna betray me. You're all gonna not betray me." He said, "You're all gonna deny me."
Yeah.
All of you are. You're gonna deny me at this time. You're gonna deny me at that time. All y'all gonna act like y'all didn't know me. All of y'all are. So, but think about that. They all betrayed him.
Hmm.
They all betrayed him. But Judas's. I mean, but here's the thing. Jesus could understand, which I'm not gonna lie to you. I really don't get that, but it's a great story. That's why I love the story. Jesus could understand that you're gonna try to save your own life, so you're going to deny me here, but then you're going to yeah, you're gonna be speaking on me over here.
Right.
But Judas on the other hand, bro, what I and that's why I kind of almost think that it's one of those stories that some people can sit and say that I here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think that Jesus asked him to do that because otherwise the prophecy would not have been what it was and how it was. And again, we're just talking about story wise,
Yeah.
right? But in the book itself, or whatever, if we're just talking about it from what somebody else said, or whatever, one of you are gonna betray me, So go on, go do what you need to do, champ, right? Because he knew who he was. Like, no, not me, my God, whatever. Anyway, but my point of the matter is that treachery, betrayal is it's the worst one. And I pulled this up, and it's so bad that it says it's a sin, betrayal of the special, because it's a special trust,
Hmm.
right? And there's 4 zones to this. There's a Kanea, which is traitors to my kin, which is what Cain did to Abel. Cain killed Abel, right? So
Yeah.
it's a betrayal there. It's a traitorous, treacherous thing to your country. And think about this: it's a treacherous thing to your guests. To your guests. See, people think that Sodom and Gomorrah was based on homosexuality. No, it was not. It was based on what's that word? Hospitality.
Uh-huh.
You had to be cool to people. Period. Now God can wipe out hordes of people, but you can't. At least not without special permission. And then the other one is being a traitor to your Lord, to God. So I'm just saying, dude, like that. So it says that Satan is here, frozen, not ruling, chewing on Judas, Brutus, and Cassius, or whatever these are, people back in the day
Yeah.
or whatever. So my point is this. My point is this. I love the shit, right? But my point is that to be treacherous, betrayal, it's the like, yo, I'm cool on that shit,
Yeah.
right? Think about how crazy that is. That another person, that somebody during the time of 1200 was like, bro, you are a piece. Excuse me, 1300s was like, you are so much of a piece of shit that out of 9 levels of hell, that's the one that you're at.
Well, and so it goes
That's all
back.
I'm saying. That's
If
all
we're
I'm
look,
saying.
if we're looking at it from kind of a little the group dynamic side of it, right? If
For
we're looking
sure.
at the person that was present and um I mean, let's be honest, wrote wrote those parables. Um, what you're dealing with actually is the concept of a high control group, right? Like a
For sure.
high control group where um, you have to lay out um, the ground rules of the group in order to maintain control of said group. And when you're in a group like that, the worst thing that you can do is be a betrayer, a person that goes against what the group values or betrays the group is the most dangerous person. They can forgive a lot of other things, but except selling that group out to the larger group.
That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That is why treason. That is why think about that. Treason is punishable by death.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You can kill somebody. You can lie. You can steal. You can cheat. You can steal.
Mhm.
You do. You can do the worst atrocities to people, but treachery.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't shit.
So, and that's what I'm saying, because a high control group is basically a cult. Like that's what a high control group is.
I love that.
Is cult like thinking.
Yeah.
You see it in crypto groups, like crypto groups, or the people that play hard in like the meme stock market and stuff like that. When you're in those groups, it's a high control group. Everybody says good morning, guys, all this other stuff. The absolute worst thing you can be is, I don't think this is the right thing, guys. Oh man, you're fudding the group. This is fear and uncertainty. This is a crime against the group. The worst possible thing you can do is sell this stock that we're all invested in.
Right.
You hold on in the face of the market downturn, you fall in, the fundamentals can fall out from under this stock, but you better hold it, because if you sell it, you are betraying us, and then if we find out about it, you're out.
Mm.
So it's the concept, it is a high control group, and so the leader has to enforce it. And again, the worst thing you could possibly be is a betrayer.
Right.
When the group dynamics are like that, when you require absolute subservience or adherence to your will in order to maintain control of the group, the worst thing you can do is be a betrayer. So I think maybe that might play into it too.
Mm. Might be.
You know,
Yeah.
and so I see where you're going. Yeah, and a lot of times we end up playing the role of the
But
betrayer to ourselves.
sorry, but my point was is that there's certain there are certain principles in which I stand on, I stand for, that are mine. But I wouldn't ask another person to live by the standards that I set for myself.
Yep.
That foundation that I have is not the same foundation that other people have and that other people are on in
Well,
general. And I think that whenever I'm helping a person, particularly with New Year's resolutions and this that, and the other, I have to remind myself of that, because I'm like, bro, you not on the same level that I'm on it, and vice versa.
well, and that's where it goes into, because this is the thought. This is what I was thinking um, before it got captured by my ADHD and fled to the recesses of my brain. Tying it back to that weightlifting analogy I gave. My programming for deadlifts that I accidentally did, the thing I was risking enhanced risk for injury. I was risking screwing my central nervous system up and overloading it completely and detraining. I was risking overworking my muscles to the point where the muscles were actually eating themselves, and I was in a catabolic state.
Hmm.
Um, Fortunately, I didn't experience any of that, and so there has to be something internally biologically where I was able to not do that. Because for a lot of people, that level of work on that specific movement, where deadlifts absolutely challenge your entire body.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when people fail, like if they're lifting a weight and they're not able to lift it, it's not a strength failure or muscle failure. Your central nervous system gave out. It's too overstimulated, and it just said nope and shut down. So central nervous system fatigue is a real thing. It affects power lifters and stuff like that. I
Okay.
would I would not recommend what I did as a deadlift program for anybody. I wouldn't even recommend it for me. The only reason I was doing it was because I misread what the program was. So it was all accidental, but the accident was a happy accident because it made me stronger than I'd ever been before. But
Hmm.
I would not recommend that training modality for anybody, because that is a fast ticket to overtraining and injury and absolutely going against the results that you're trying to create.
Okay.
Um, One of the things that CrossFitters were dealing with some of these CrossFit gyms was, I forgot what it was called. They called it Uncle Rambo, right? Uncle Rambo, and stuff like that. What that means is your muscles are actually feeding on themselves.
Okay.
And
Well, what?
yeah, where people are peeing blood,
Ugh, that's
and stuff
gross.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
What was happening in the CrossFit community was people were overtraining themselves
Oh
to the
yeah,
point.
for sure, for sure.
They're overtraining themselves to the point where their body could no longer maintain it, and their muscles started cannibalizing themselves. I had one of my workers was actually experiencing that. And so I'm sitting there like, hey man, because we're talking weight training stuff. He's like, oh Brian, you got to get on this CrossFit thing. I'm like, no, I don't what, I like what I do. And he was coming in, he was always cranky, he's always sore. He never could recover from any workouts. And he started getting weaker and weaker. It's because there was less muscle tissue there because the body started feeding on its own muscle tissue. It's an ugly
So,
situation.
I mean, so was he not eating enough protein, or
Oh, he was eating.
was he?
But what happened was your muscles do have a natural threshold of maximum work that they can do. And he had pushed them past their breaking point. And for a lot of people, that will land you in the hospital.
Gotcha.
And so we're telling them, hey man, because it was, in my staff, we had a couple of former football players, people that worked out. We had a Division I hooper and stuff, and we had to pull them aside like, hey man, you have to stop. Because what's happening is you're basically hurting yourself. And it got to a point where it became a meme in the CrossFit community. They had an entire character that represented that. And for some people, that ended up becoming the desired state of, now I'm really working. And yeah, it was an ugly thing. And rhombosis. I can never say the name, but it's called Uncle Rombo. And basically it's a condition where you've overtrained to the point where your body can no longer recover from the amount of stress that you put it under.
Oh wow.
It's the breakdown of muscle tissue, releasing harmful substances like myoglobin into the bloodstream, which can lead to kidney damage or kidney failure. Symptoms include muscle pain, weakness, dark colored urine. Some cases are asymptomatic. Causes extreme exertion, trauma, infections. So but there was a breed of CrossFitters that were actually pursuing that.
Okay.
Because they've correlated pain with getting stronger.
Did you know back in the day, like when there was like a certain sect of Christians that would come out and they would beat the shit out of themselves.
Yeah.
They would take like the cat's nine tails and whip their backs and stuff because they're like, if Jesus went through it, we want to go through it too.
Mother Teresa was on that.
Like people were scared to be around them. Because like it's ironic as people say that Muslims are terrorists and this and the other dude. People were scared of Christians.
Well,
scared of them.
Mother Teresa was on that philosophy of punishment,
right,
and suffering, bringing you closer to experiential experience.
That's
and
crazy.
So when you go back and look at some of the stuff she used to do in her homes, she would starve people and like inflict unnatural suffering on them because she thought that brought them closer to God. It's some dark stuff. If you ever really want to mess yourself up and screw up your view of some of these people, go look up what Mother Teresa was actually on.
I mean, bro,
what kind of timing she was actually.
I don't put many people on top of a pedestal like that, and I surely wouldn't have put her up there.
But it's a fun trip. So
I'll read it.
We got far afield. Here's what we're saying. A lot of times we end up playing the Judas to ourselves. Like our future self ends up becoming the Judas to our present self, right? It ends up becoming the betrayer to our present self. And the reason why the future self becomes a betrayer is because we've layered it with all these insane expectations of behavior that don't align with who we've historically been.
Correct.
You're expecting future self to carry all that weight, as opposed to building the framework for future self to be successful. You basically sabotaged it. Okay,
and that's literally all it is. What you just said is being in a situation where we can to be successful. So you're kind of clearing the path out.
Yeah.
So you can walk that path. That's literally all we're doing.
Yeah, and y'all want, and the real truth is, and let's be honest, fearless between me and you, one of the things that we say is we say we want to change things, but we don't really mean it. You don't
Yeah.
really want to change. You just want certain things to be different, but you don't necessarily want to make the change yourself. And
Yeah.
so we get into that mode with New Year's resolutions where people want the outcomes, but they don't want to put in the repetitions. Um, I used to call it winning without competing. We have parents in my sports training business that are locked into that. They want to win without having to go through the struggle and strain of actually having to compete to win.
Right.
What that means is they want to drop their kids on these loaded teams where their kid may be the most marginally talented kid on a group, but then they want to collect all the trophies and everything because they want to experience winning without having to actually go through the process of competing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have that mind state, and that's an insidious mind state to have. I'm not, I'm not big, huge competition guy, overly competitive guy. My daughter got all that from me. She got all that. She got all the hyper competitiveness. But we have this thing in society where people want to win without competing. They're trying to rig the game before they get started, and it becomes a dirty game when you're trying to do it from a New Year's resolution standpoint, where you're going to shortcut your way to the outcomes without having to go through the part that sucks.
Right.
The transformation piece of it. And so sometimes it's mentally adapting and saying, this is going to be tough. And these are the things I'm going to deal with. And making the plan, hey, this is how I'm going to deal with these. Again, my contention is don't wait till New Year's. If you decide that you need to make a massive change in your life, start moving towards that change now. Small
Correct.
steps are better than no steps.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, just do something. But again, I mean, and know your why.
Yeah.
You know, like why is this important to you? Because I mean, and again, I mean, even if you were to sit and say that, well, I would like to, I like to lose 30 pounds. Perfect. For what reason? Why?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I'm not saying because you don't want to be healthy. I mean, cool, but I mean, some of these foods are amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you got yourself up to that 30 pounds or whatever, okay, cool. So does that mean that either A, you need to scale back on what you're eating, or B, you need to work out a little bit more? But from what I've learned is that majority of that weight coming off is going to be based on what you stick in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, think about that, and then there we go with Liberty's Research. Yeah, or C, consider, very much part, very much. But again, there's something that's in there.
Well, the other side is so, and this is kind of a different framework, but it's along the same pathway. You want to lose 30 pounds. You have your reason. You have your why you want to lose 30 pounds.
You know what? How about this? Fuck weight. Talk about something different.
Okay.
So let's say that you like to go into a room. Let's say that you want to go into this particular reading group, and this particular reading group is number one. They everybody reads everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're a fun group to have, but here's the thing: it's a group that they only accept certain people, right? And the qualifications are maybe that you have to have read, you have to read like 100 books a year, and then it's like a $200 a month thing that you have to pay to play with them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
To get to this group. So let's say that that's your New Year's resolution. Let's use something that's kind of ambiguous.
Okay.
So
how do you become the kind of person that's in
how do you become the kind of person that's in that group? So one of the things that I would do personally is if that was a group that I wanted to be in, I would maybe talk to somebody who was already in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see what I mean? I would find out, okay, well, what's the application fee like? What type of books? I mean, because if the more that you look into it, you might be like, you know what, this isn't. Yeah, you know what, I'm cool.
Or your
I
why.
don't. I don't like the. I don't like the books that you guys are reading. I can't read my own books, but I like you guys as a group. So, I mean, is it possible for me just to sit in on your conversations, and that might open up something as well? But why do you want to be involved in
Yeah.
this particular thing? And again, I think that by talking to other people about what it is that you like to get into or what it is that you like to do is going to not only gather the information that you're looking for, but put you on a trajectory to kind of go into that.
Well, and I think it's
It
getting
work for you.
like I said, getting solid on your why. Like how what
Sure.
do I want to is this group going to help me? Is this group going to uplift me spiritually? Is it going to uplift me financially?
Yeah,
Is
for
it going to help
sure.
me interpersonally? Because if that group feels like the only way that you can access it, then we figure out how we become one of the people that sit at that table. But
That's it.
if there are other ways to get there that don't necessarily require the group, and you're not, and that's not your destination, then you figure out other ways to get there.
Right.
And I think, but the thing I was going with before we moved off the weight thing is I believe in you shoot past your goal, because then if you want to lose 30 pounds, say I want to lose 60 pounds. So when you lose 25, you're further ahead down the road than when you started.
For sure.
And I think a lot of times people don't set those. I mean, it goes to that 10x is bigger than 2x kind of thinking, right? Because even if um, even if my 10x, if the 10x change I want to implement is only 7x, it's still better than where I was before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't manage change. We don't imagine change like that. More times than not, the examples of change that we see on social media is person made radical, life altering change that was super successful making that change. We
Mm-hmm.
never see person decides to make life altering change, struggles mightily, but and they may not have accomplished 100% of the change, but they got 75% of it. We
Right.
never see those stories. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, those stories are just as impressive, because
Right.
when your baseline is zero change, some change is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We just beat ourselves up because we don't get to 100% of where we want to be. You know, if your goal is this business cycle, I want to quadruple what I made last year, but if you double it, you're doing pretty good.
Right.
And so we don't really view change in that way. And I think it goes back to the New Year's resolution thinking, where it's all this all in kind of thinking that we have with it. Like there's a lot of things I find problematic around the New Year's resolution. It's not the idea of changing in and of itself. It's how we position that in our discourse, in our society. You know, everybody
Right.
wants to make those. That's a human. It's a human thing to say, I don't like this thing about my life. I want to change it. That's a human thing. Um, I think we reward people that 100% make the 100% radical change, as opposed to person that makes the radical change, but they get 50% of the way there, but they keep going
Right.
and working towards 100%. Um, but yeah, I go back to the fact that people want to win without competing. I go back to the fact that people want to avoid the reps, right? They want a polished version without the beginning being messy. When Fearless first started the live stream, he's probably like, I'd imagine that in your view, the live stream was a lot more messy than it ended up becoming. It was started out messy, and then you refined it as you went through your 100 days.
Yeah.
But if you were expecting it to be 100% polished from Jump Street, you would have quit within 5 days.
Yes. Yeah, because I didn't know what I was doing. But again, going the why and my principles that were already there. My principles told me that you're gonna do this because you said you're gonna do it. You're gonna show up because you said you would show up.
Right.
So everything else on there was just, icing on the cake or a fly in the punch bowl. But you still got to keep showing up. How many times did I show up and my internet went out?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that happened several times. How many times did I show up and I'm asking questions and nobody's participating with anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like how many times do I show up there and and nobody's there? I mean, so dude, I mean, or the same exact people keep showing up and nobody else shows up for anything else that we got going on. So
Right.
again though, dude, I mean it's just it's one of those things, man. So your why has to be more important than I would say your why and your follow through.
Yeah.
Like period. If you can't get past those two things, you're gonna fail. I assure you. It's a crapshoot. You're gonna fail.
Right. And I think, um, like I said, it goes back to that unforgiving nature of human beings. Like we just end up beating ourselves. Like I don't know. There's this thing where we're not happy with the progress we made. I struggle with it sometimes, where I sit there and say, I look back on, man, I didn't get this accomplished, but then I don't look at how much I got accomplished. You know, it is what it
Right.
is.
Yes.
So let's go back into the discomfort that I want you to talk a little bit about your the way that you handled the 100 days of live streaming. Like, do you see it in different phases, like your different layers of comfort, getting more used to it? How was what was your process like with that, Fearless?
Okay, you ask me one more time.
Well, like when you were doing your 100 days of live streams, right? Could you feel like different layers of progress with it? Like you're like, okay, I'm more comfortable with this aspect of it. This doesn't suck as much. Like what was your entire thought process as you're progressing through your 100 days?
Um, I told you, man. I had 100 days,
Hmm.
and I wanted to. I knew that I love teaching, and that's all I focused on. I just focused on that, and the fact that ChatGPT can basically kind of you can have an idea and just take it and run with it. That's all I did, and I did that for an hour and a half every single night for 100 nights.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like in something like different, right? So I can ask questions, I can answer questions, all that stuff, whatever. So like that was fun.
How did that impact your like? How did that impact your thinking? Is like yourself. Look at yourself before you started that 100 days of live streaming versus after. What changed about you?
That I can hit that button and just go.
Okay.
That I can put together my presentation and I can just shoot it.
Okay.
Like yeah, I mean, regardless of who's around, regardless of why I'm doing it or whether people agree with it or not. Not only that though, but I've also started to understand that if you, I think if you, I think that if you build it, they will show.
Okay.
You know, kind of like the Field of Dreams type of thing. If you build it, they will come. I think if you build it, people will show up, or whatever for their own particular reasons. But I think that people will. If they know who you are and what you're doing, and you also got to remember too, people may not watch you on the front end; they may catch you on the back end.
Yep.
I also didn't know that either. I also didn't know that the people that really rock with you, you don't see them on the live because they're usually doing something different. Yeah, like I said, you'll see them usually on the back end type stuff or whatever. So, and people will walk up to you like, "Hey, man, I watched your thing, man. That was kind of tight. That's
Yeah.
cool."
And that's the dope thing. Speaking of which, if you're seeing us on the Trial and Error YouTube channel, I finally got my expanded hard drive, and so now I have the space to actually do a lot of this editing. So I have an entire back catalog of stuff that you're going to start seeing edited versions of on that channel, as opposed to just the live streams and clips. So be prepared for that as we roll into the next year. And
Right.
so that's going to be something that's coming. But yeah, man. The thing is, as you start making the change, as you start living and breathing it, your brain chemistry alters. Your desires and wants and needs start shifting. It's a really fun and interesting process, but you got to get past the part that sucks first. Because was it always fun doing the 100 days fearless? Did you always want to
No,
do it?
no, I did not. No, no, and and I will also tell you too. That is the one thing that that's something else that I learned too. I love to teach, but I don't want to produce my own stuff. I don't like seriously. I don't want to go through all that. I don't want to do. I like what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
I could do this all day long, every single day, no problem. But if you think about it, you're the one producing it.
yeah. Fearless told
Like,
me straight up. He's like, because we started this as a recorded thing, and he's like, I don't want to edit. I don't want to
yep,
look at.
I don't want. Yep, go ahead, tell him.
I don't want to look at editing. I hate going back and watching old videos and stuff like that. I just like to record it and ship it, and I don't want to see it. And so we had to make an adjustment to how we produced it, and that's why this became a live stream as opposed to a thing that we recorded every single week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, because what did I tell you? I'm like, dude, I'm tired. I don't want to. That let's just shoot and let's just shoot and go.
Let's just
Shoot and
shoot it and
go.
get it over with.
Let's just shoot and go. Like that's. And again, bro, like if somebody else edited and did it all myself, if all I had to do is just sit, do my thing, and somebody else
Mhm.
produced everything, bro, I would still do it every night.
Yeah.
No problem. I just
Well,
don't want to. I don't want to do all that stuff. No.
yeah, you don't want the overhead of it, and I understand it. Like I'm looking at next year hiring an editor to help with all the stuff that I'm recording, because the editing piece is one of the harder pieces.
That's
Y'all.
the biggest part about it. That like, no, I mean, I'll shoot it and I'll just put it out
Right.
as is. Like sneezing, farts, burps, you get it all.
Yeah. I would rather, but again, that also comes from the fact that we do it enough where we have the repetitions in where it's not that big of a deal to outsource pieces of it. But you have to get to that point. You have to have a library. I got 52 weeks of stuff.
Right.
Aren't there cheap outsourced editors? Yeah, but I have standards because I know how to edit my own stuff. And so if I was hiring myself as an editor, I wouldn't be cheap. Does that make sense? And so a cheap outsourced editor is going to provide you cheap outsourced results more times than not.
Yeah.
And so I have a certain level of standard since I know how to edit. That's something I have in my bag. I can edit it myself.
You know what? Also, another thing too, man, is, and I mean, and maybe this could be a thing too, though, dude. Maybe this could be a thing for you as well, or for somebody out there that really wants to put some stuff out. Is I'm gonna text it to you,
All right.
and if I'm gonna text it to you, I'm not gonna say this out loud because you might be like, oh shit, that's actually a really good idea.
So,
Another thing too, man, you need to come get your present, man.
oh, okay. Oh, shoot. Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah. I'll be out traveling again, doing the Bellevue thing probably sometime next week. So I'll pick a time. We'll sit down and talk about it off air. The thing okay, so here's the thing. I know like I have targets of editors that I actually want to interact with that I've seen their work and stuff. And so it's building the money to be able to do it, because the thing about YouTube, the thing that if you want to be successful at it, you need an editor that has a proven track record of success with other channels that are in the similar genre, right? And so I would be going for the people that edits a lot of video essayists and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm with that.
Do you think we should say that out loud, or keep this one?
Let's keep this one for right now.
Oh, yeah. But you see,
Yeah,
you see where I'm going with that, though, right?
right.
That right there. If you can tweak that just right, that is a gold mine.
Oh yeah, I actually built. That was one of the first models I started building. I'll explain it to you. I'll start explaining it to you and why.
But the fact that you're like, nah, I'm good. Let's keep that off air. Told you.
Yeah.
And that just popped into my head.
So
okay.
The thing is, so when hiring a cheap editor, like outsourcing it and stuff like that, so this is kind of one of those aspirational things, right? my goal is to produce the kind of money where the cost of the editor doesn't matter, and I get my choice of editor, right? In order to get to that level, I'll edit what my standard of editing is until I have that cash flow to go out and hire the editor that I want. The thing I will not do is pay somebody and compromise, because I've done that. I've actually paid an editor who was good, but we didn't align from an artistic standpoint. And the outcomes that they produced didn't make the video successful, if you will.
Right. And then not only that, though, but how readily available are they?
Yeah.
Because like again, if you, and then not only that though, but how many revisions will they make?
Yeah, because sometimes
some of them will consistently charge you, or they'll make 3. So again, you can show them kind of what you're looking for, or looking at, or blah 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 blah. And then, but sometimes if their work isn't, you might see one thing that's like, oh my God, it's good job, close to this, but then the other ones suck. And then they're like, well, this is going to take me another week because I already got enough. I already have, 3, 4, 5 other individual projects that I'm working on.
Well, and the last thing, the last thing I'll throw in there while it's in my brain, and this is something I experienced directly, especially when it comes to Fiverr editors or editors that are from another country. Sometimes the media that they'll use isn't geo-locked in, it's not restricted in their area, but it's absolutely restricted in the United States. And then as soon as I upload that video, I get flagged because the music they use or the clips they use, they didn't have any clearance for it. It wasn't a problem where they were, but it's a problem where I was. And then I have to send it back for revisions. And if it's like the second or third revision, now I have to pay for the revision. And now I'm sitting there like, hell, I'll just edit it myself. Because now I got to go through or remove the pieces that are getting me flagged. And I don't, I'd rather deal with an editor in the States that we're also in the same area, like we exist in the same place. So we have we're under the same copyright law and under the same fair use. So there's layers to it. I understand, like for a website, outsourcing a website and stuff, I have a guy that does websites and stuff. But like, there are specific areas that I will outsource to somebody who's not here, or I'll do a Fiverr thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I love Fiverr.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. Upwork, is that what it's called?
Upwork too.
Upwork is pretty cool too. Outsource, I think I forgot the other name of it. Is whatever. A lot of them are really cool. It's just that sometimes, man, it's but it also depends, I think, on what you're using it for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like again, we're talking about producing our videos or whatever. So again, that means that they have to go through all the stuff that we talked about, everything. So again, if you got 5 or 6 different people and somebody's podcast is 2 hours, and you got 5 people, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 10 hours right there of just watching everybody's stuff. And you're not even, and that's not even touching the reviews. That's not even touching the all the what am I thinking of? All the things that you have to touch and change and fix and alter and delete and add music and all that stuff. That's just one person that you watched on one thing. And think about if you got 5 or 10 or 15 people that you have to do that same exact thing for. Yep. So like, yeah, it's yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Liberty Switcher. I've used it for research, testing, etc. Not content correct. Yes.
Yep. And so my goal eventually is to turn this into a media company, right? And so we would have an editor on staff, or at least one that is on a retainer that always has a hole in their schedule for when we give them new content. And the modality, the idea is I can provide it to them and they edit it, and I don't have to provide a lot of oversight because it's exactly the way I want it. This comes from managing staff. If I train them enough and provide that adequate front end, they're going to produce the results that I want without me having to stand over their shoulder and produce it.
Mm,
And then they can freelance a little bit and add, okay, I think Brian might like this. I'll add this in, add little bells and whistles in that still they know would still align with my vision of this is. And so eventually a lot of this stuff is going to be a lot of this stuff is going to be consolidated. Me and Fearless still share this one, but some of this stuff is going to be consolidated under the banner of a media company and a consulting firm that does alignment kind of consulting for creative projects and
right.
also some business stuff because people hire me to make sure that their marketing messaging is right. And so I'm just kind of expanding this out, utilizing this as a platform to do it too.
Right.
Um, and so there's a bigger plan. And so yeah, I appreciate the input. The thing we're talking about is the change piece of it, and so that's part of the resolution piece. I'm not using it as a resolution. It's a goal that I'm setting over the next year to be able to build enough bandwidth capacity to have an editor on retainer,
Yeah, that part.
because I have another business venture that I got about 200 hours of basketball footage I need them to edit. So,
Right, I'm sure, dude.
like I said, let's lean in. Let's talk about discomfort, and then we're gonna. Oh shoot, we're almost 2 hours in. Jeez, it flew. So the idea about this is, it's leaning into your discomfort. I think that's the biggest thing. You got it. Sometimes you do have to. We try to soft pedal it. We try to make it easier for people to digest. And this ain't for the win without competing crowd. If you are locked in on this, I got to win without having to do the work of competing. This ain't for you,
Right.
because you ain't built for this. And I don't want to be that harsh, that draconian on it. But if you are in that win without competing, where I want to have all the success without putting in any of the work for it, this next part ain't for you. Okay.
Mm.
January doesn't give you discipline. That's one. But two, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm not saying total immersion in uncomfortableness where you're 100% throw yourself in the water and where you are absolutely laying down on the barbed wire and suffering in
Oh,
agony.
wow.
What I am saying is step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and then step out a little bit more. You step outside of your
Keep
comfort zone.
talking. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
You step outside of your comfort zone, get acclimated to that feeling of discomfort to the point where that becomes your normal, and then you step a little bit further out. And then you step a little bit further out. You step a little bit further out. And eventually you're going to look back on what your comfort zone was and see that your comfort zone is expanded to encompass all of this new stuff. But you have to lean into your discomfort a bit. I didn't deadlift 600 pounds by being comfortable. It's called voluntary hardship. Weightlifting is powerlifting, strength lifting for strength is embracing the concept of voluntary hardship. This is going to be difficult, and I'm volunteering for it, because if lifting this 600 pounds on this bar is the hardest thing I do all day, then the rest of the day is a cakewalk. That's the mentality right there. Leaning into your discomfort a little bit is going to be huge when you want to make these transformative changes. If you aren't willing to be uncomfortable, if you think that your change is going to be comfortable, you're setting yourself up to not be successful. I like that. I'm gonna check that one out. Create your life's work. One of the things I did, so my old life, I taught behavioral management for parents and for kids. Sorry, my mic is kind of going askew here. And so one of the books that's been formative to me was The Principles of Behavior. And so a lot of what I'm talking about is based on this. I think I'll add Turning Pro Tap Your Inner Power to Create Your Life's Work. I will absolutely do that. The book I'm recommending to everybody is 10x is better than 2x. I don't know. I can't remember the author exactly. Sorry, my mic is going crazy. But really, it's basically the idea of, if you're going to make a change, make a 10x kind of change as opposed to a 2x kind of change. which means set the big, huge, audacious goal that forces the change adaptation, as opposed to trying to tiptoe into the change. So Steve Pressfield's Turner Pro. I'm looking at one. I'll put that on my. Yep, that's it right there. And some of the things, some of the philosophies are things I've already said, and other in ways that I've already kind of adapted. Dan Sullivan. Yep, ways that I've already adapted my life. Um, and so it was just kind of reaffirming some things I already knew, but it's a really good book to get you to think about how you make these big huge changes in your world, and how you actually set goals for yourself. And so I've always been shoot a goal that overshoots your target by a large margin, so that when you make that change, all you have to do is, if you do 50% of that, you're a lot further than you were from the beginning. So yeah, I think the challenge for people is they want to stay comfortable as opposed to leaning into their area of discomfort, and forcing themselves to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That makes sense. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. If anything, starting on January 1st is the worst day, because you're trying to shift all of this crap at one time. You're trying to fulfill 5 different New Year's resolutions. Your brain is fighting against the change every step of the way, and you're trying to do all this at the same time. You're setting yourself up to fail. You're overwhelming your capacity to adapt to the change. So again, if you're going to make that change, start making it now. Without struggle or discomfort, there is no growth. That is true. Um, and understand there's a difference between, and so I'll say this because I've run into the no pain no gain people. When I'm talking about like weights and stuff, you don't have to be in pain to make radical changes in the weight room. And I think I see a lot of people do that, where they think that they got to go in and hurt themselves, and being sore and being in agony is part of getting better. And it's really not, unless you are trying to be a bodybuilder or a professional power lifter or strongman competition or a professional CrossFitter. Pain is not part of the training regimen. It's not, you know, you don't have to make this, you don't have to provide a sacrament of yourself and go through this semi-religious thing of suffering to get stronger in the weight room. And I apply that to life. If we're talking something that actually is causing physical pain, your physical pain or your mental pain is kind of a tripwire. If you're saying, hey, is this thing really for me? Or do I need to find another way to attack it? So being uncomfortable is different than being in pain. And so I think we balance those two things out. But yeah, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the only way your brain will adapt. That's the only way you'll force the adaptation. You'll force the behavioral adaptation, is getting uncomfortable. Okay. And that's why a lot of resolutions die before February, because your brain is trying to get back to its state of homeostasis. It's trying to get back to what's normal, and it's going to fight you every step of the way. And if you're trying to do 5 changes instead of 1, and you've never built any momentum with any of them, you're just all starting at the same time on the same day at midnight on New Year's, you're trying to initiate all these things at the same time, is basically trying to drive 5 different ways at one time. You can't do it. So if you're going to make an increment, if you're going to make a change, start incrementally now. It's not too late. It's December 30th, right? If you have a New Year's resolution that you're planning for the 1st, don't wait. Start it now. Start taking the steps to make that change and lay the framework for that change right now, because you're going to start building momentum, and it's going to be a lot easier when January 1st rolls around to continue on the momentum you've already built, as opposed to starting from a dead stop. Okay. And I provide this framework. I do have my school community where I'm teaching people, business owners, how to start making content to drive business to themselves. And I do have a lot of people that are kind of just waiting. They're waiting for this perfect moment. They're waiting for this thing harmonious, the planets to align and this harmonious event to happen, and everything's going to be perfect for them to sit down and press record and start recording, as opposed to picking up their phone, sitting down, finding a light source, and hitting record. And one, my method of get recording, even if it's messy, is in my mind, that's a better way than you need all this, you need all this, you need all these conditions to be right to do the thing. You know, because all that does is a baked in excuse. It's a built in excuse. Understood. Yeah. That's how I view the world. You know, again, I have to adjust for the way my brain works. I have to adjust for the neurodivergence. I have to adjust for ADHD, possible autism. I have to adjust for a lot of different things. And so I have to trick myself a lot of times to get the things that I want done. And I'd imagine a lot of other people struggle with it because they are trying to tiptoe into the change. And that's not how it works. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my thing here. Okay. So whatever the thing you want to change is, find the smallest thing that you can do and start there today. Start while you're unsure. Okay. You don't build confidence in what you're doing without putting in the reps. Confidence without putting in the repetitions is false confidence. So start when you're not certain. Start when you're unsure. Okay. Because if you're waiting till you're sure, you're never going to be sure. You're never going to be 100% certain about this thing. And you're never going to have 100% competence in it without actually practicing it. So do the reps and build the confidence. Like I said, confidence without repetition, confidence without practicing, confidence without starting messy is false confidence. And I'd rather have, you know, if I'm going into a brain surgeon, I need a brain surgeon that has some reps under his belt, as opposed to, I'd rather have an unconfident surgeon who has a lot of reps under his belt, as opposed to a supremely confident surgeon, and this is his first time with the scalpel in his hand or her hand. Give me the person that's questioning themselves, but they actually has applied experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are waiting for the applied experience to magically manifest in their brain, and you don't get that without practicing. The entire concept of the show is trial and error. Go out there and screw up and learn the lesson and get better. You do that with your New Year's resolutions too. Go fuck it up.
Yeah, I have this book right here. I think we were just talking about that, Brian.
And we got another
Dan Sullivan. I have him. And again, here's the thing, Liberty Church. I don't really read a lot of self-help stuff at all. Like, at least not anymore. I don't. And if I do, it has to be something that's really special or whatever. Because I think that here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that when you're actually putting up the numbers, when you're actually doing the work, it's not that you need motivation, because you don't. Maybe inspiration, but you don't need to necessarily stay motivated because something else is. So, let me rephrase that. You don't have to stay disciplined because you're already motivated.
Yeah.
I'll say that instead.
You just reminded me of the thing I wanted to talk to you about on here. So the concept is, you don't have to stay motivated because you already know, right? One of the things,
because I'm already disciplined.
Yeah.
When it comes to certain stuff.
Yeah. Well, another side is accumulating knowledge sometimes can be a crutch.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
The accumulation of knowledge, over learning is a crutch, because over learning is fun. Learning is fun. If you have a certain mindset, learning about shit is fun.
I love to learn.
Learning, and then planning. Ooh, planning is great, man. Planning is amazing. You get to use your imagination. You get to imagine all these scenarios and everything. Planning is great. Planning is bullshit without execution. And a
Yeah,
lot of times people get caught up in the planning and learning phase because that's comfortable for them. And then
as opposed to executing it.
they never execute the thing. They never get practical application of the thing that they've been learning. I've had clients that get caught in that phase. There's always something else they need to learn. There's always something else they need to learn. I've had to tell one of my clients, you know everything you already need to know to get started. Don't buy another ebook. Don't watch another video. The next time we talk, I need you to have started on the thing. And I'm not going into what the thing was for them, but I need you to actually make a positive movement towards starting the thing and get out of this. I need to learn more. I need to know more. I need to plan more. I need to adjust my business plan. I need to do X, Y, and Z. Stop planning. Execute. If you fail during the execution piece of it, if something goes wrong during the execution piece, that is a data point. You take the data point, learn how you get better.
Yeah, literally.
And accumulating are the same as doom scrolling. You're consuming something but not creating, and that's exactly what it is. And that's what social media has bred. That is what YouTube help videos have bred. That's what a lot of Audible. I'm addicted to Audible. Audible's bred that. I've read hundreds of business books. None of those business books taught me more than actually going out there and doing
the work. And I mean, think about where I would have been if I would have just kept reading on, during my 100 days. You know what I'm saying? I just did it.
Yeah.
Now what I have is I have the experience from going from here, and not only that, from making plans every single day. What are you going to talk about today? You know what? I don't know. I haven't talked about such and such. Mm-hmm. And then I could use chat to, hey, give me some ideas on what I could talk about. How do I go from here? How do I go from there? How do I take Joseph Campbell's A Hero of a Thousand Faces, the hero's journey? How do I take that? How do I extrapolate that? How do I expand that?
Right.
Into like this whole entire what word do I want to use? Into this whole entire like 3-phase seminar type thing. How do I put all that in there? How do I break it up so people understand where they actually are? Because I think that from the standpoint that Joseph Campbell was talking about, mm-hmm. the hero's journey, first and foremost, the hero's journey is a story like ours, but the difference is that every hero that he was talking about was half man, half God.
Right.
Every one of them. So if you talk about Superman, if you talk about Pythagoras, not Pythagoras, if you talk about what's my man's name? Prometheus. Odysseus, Kim too. Basically, if you talk about any of them, Samson, or whatever. Like, sorry about that.
Mario,
or whatever. Like, again, they're half man, half God. Type of type of situational or whatever. So yeah, so that's kind of what a lot of those people are. So like when people are talking about when they're talking about that, it's like, oh, how do you do this and how do you go from here to there? You're talking about people who have a whole leg up on you, right? Now the stories still could be the same, whatever. First and foremost, you live in the ordinary world, and then you get this call to action, this call that just this chitter chatter, right?
Right.
And at that point, you either make a decision to either go with that or not. And if you choose to go with it, eventually you're going to find a guide.
Yeah.
A guide could be, it could be anyone, it could be anything, right? So then you kind of go from there or whatever. But I love stuff like that. That's my shit.
Well, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, kind of.
And it always does, man. It always does, but I think that the hero's journey will at least allow you and let you know exactly where you are. And it also, I think, it warns you of what's coming, positive and negative.
Right.
It also helps you to set the guidelines for not only what's coming, but bro, stay strong, stay down, stay on top of that type of stuff, whatever, because help is on the way, but you got to be working for it to come.
Right.
You know what I'm
And,
saying? Like you got to be already working for it.
well, and I think the thing I'm gonna throw in there, Fearless, is
Go ahead.
um like I've read, the Robert Greene books. That's like always a lot of times people's first entry into really self-help books is the
Yeah.
48 laws of power and all the other stuff.
But again, that's based on manipulating people.
And so I'm getting into that.
It's
Uh,
based on manipulating them. It's not based on helping.
no, it's not. And that's what I'm saying. What happens is when you do that, when you get into like those kind of books, that's always somebody's first intro into self-help, right?
For
And
sure.
it has a couple of lessons in there that people try to emulate in their real lives, and then they don't get the results they're looking for. And one of the ones is plan all the way to the end, right? And that ends up becoming a trap for them because they try to plan all the way to the end. But the example, I think that was like it might have been what was it, Napoleon or whoever the example was. They had this amazing execution and they were able to plan for each step of they do X, I'm gonna do Y, and they're able to counter each step along the way. You don't get to plan all the way until the end until you have experience doing the thing that you're trying to execute.
Correct. And then that's so important
Yeah.
because here's the thing, and let's really put this out there. The 48 laws of power is not for it is not for the average everyday Joe. Let me
No.
look into my camera and tell you this. It is not. Let me repeat again. The 48 laws of power is not for the everyday average citizen. It's not meant for you.
No.
You want to know what it's meant for, and I'll give it to you in plain everyday English. It's meant for senators. It's made for people who are already next to the king.
Mhm.
So in our time, where we are, we live in America. So it would be the person that's next to the boss. It's next to the person that's the president. It's
Mhm.
next to the person that's next to the CEO. It's not a person that just came in off the streets and decided that, you know what, this is my objective, because your objective you may never get to that particular place
Right.
ever. So it's not made for you. It is made for people who are already within earshot of the crown.
Mhm.
If you're not there, bro, that's not that. That's not for you. Now you can use certain principles. Now
Mhm.
I'm not gonna tell you that out of all those 48 laws, that you can't use any of them. But what I would tell you is this. What I would tell you is this. I think it's the fourth or the fifth one where it tells you that your reputation
Is everything.
is
Guard it with your
everything.
life.
You need to guard it with your life. But the problem is that your reputation isn't yours.
Mhm.
Your reputation is the opinion that other people have about you,
So
right? So you can try to, but what happens if you're dead? Who's going to then protect your stuff then? You're not gonna that's not it's not gonna happen like that. So therefore, what do we do? You see what I'm saying? So you can't you can't protect yourself against something that doesn't belong to you.
that's where I'm going with it.
It does. It's not yours.
The book is it's basically how to be a paid sociopath. And unless you are already on that path, because they've done the thing where they found out that sociopathy is high in politicians and high in CEOs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I get it.
Um, and I'm not saying that Robert Greene's books are all bad. Like I've read most
I'm
of his
not.
work,
I'm not
but
saying that they are either, right?
some people are utilizing this as a framework for their lives, and
And it's not meant for you,
they're trying to do this all this Machiavellian stuff,
right?
and they're more like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Like they're that the Bugs Bunny level
Or
as opposed
motherfucking
to
or Elmer Fudd.
right. They're
You
Elmer
you
Fudd
didn't
trying to
get
be
you're
Machiavelli.
not gonna get that. That's not you.
I'm okay. You know what, Fearless? That's actually a topic for another show. Let's do that one. Let's talk about the 48 laws of power
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
how
Matter of fact, let's
people
do it next week.
yeah,
Rad.
how people misconstrue and abuse the 48 laws of power, the
Yeah, for sure.
misinterpretation. I'm gonna have to go back and do a little bit, pull out my copy, and look
I
up some
mean, but
stuff.
again, though, bro, all you got to do, really, honestly, is chat GPT it and then just break it down into particular sections or whatever. I mean, again, and here's the thing: the reason why I know them so well is because I used to study it
Oh yeah,
like it was nobody's business. I used to sit at my table just reading, reading, and then I gave it to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Dude, why is most of the books you recommend to me are like books that are meant to why are the books that you recommend to me books about manipulating other people?" And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I never even looked at it like that. And then when I started thinking about that again, using some critical thinking, I'm like, where do you find that book at a lot? In prisons.
Mhm.
You think about it, there's books that you will not get in jail,
Mhm.
but you can get that one. Think about that.
Yeah.
You can get that book in prison, but there's other books that you cannot get in prison.
Well, the other side is look who they feature in that book. Almost a lot of the people that are the subjects in that specific book are horrible fucking people. Like these are not good. These aren't from a moral standpoint or a moral framework of any kind of framework. These are not people that you would want around you or people that you want in charge of aspects of your life because you're cannon fodder to them. And
Mhm.
so a lot of people use that as their baseline to who they want to become aspirationally and then wonder why a lot of their relationships are in shambles is because this is the framework that you use to build your ascension to power or your ascension to climbing the ladder. It's all based on the thoughts or at least what Robert Greene's perception of um, how these horrible people that you wouldn't want in your life operated. So just understand sometimes you have to be in alignment with the information that you consume that you apply to your life. And so if you're not in moral or spiritual alignment, you have no moral anchor to the things to a specific set of principles. Those kind of books, those kind of self-help books can be really, really dangerous for you.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, I mean, especially like you just said, if you don't have a moral or an ethical off foundation to stand on or
mhm,
to put them up against or uh, uh, for that you to stand on yourself, you will use that book. I mean, this is the same as other books that people have used
mhm,
to commit all kinds of atrocities and then be like, well, this is where I learned it.
mhm.
Or this book told me that I can do this to you. Or this book says that you know what I'm saying? Like this is how I do this to you. I mean, not to even mention that Robert Greene himself said that I took all these different not mathematicians, these war strategists,
Mhm.
strategists of war. And he
33 strategies of war.
of no, but he took these 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 militant minds, and that's where all these things kind of came from,
Mhm.
right? That's where these things came from. If you look at the Tao Te Ching, one of the principles in there is that if I have to go to war with you, I'm not basking in glory of this. I'm not walking around with a smile on my face, knowing that I have to go do what I got to do to you.
Right.
This is a day of sorrow, not rejoicement.
Right.
I mean, come on, boy, stop.
And
I'm
the
just
other
saying.
side is
I'm just saying.
if you view everything outside as a war or you're at war with all this stuff, everything becomes collateral damage.
Everything,
And that
everybody,
includes the people that you love, your kids, your family. They all are collateral as you pursue your goals. So again,
everybody.
we are far afield of what we were talking about, but we were talking about the concept of sometimes self-help ain't really helping
I
yourself.
mean, but yeah, but no, but this is still along that path because again, the hero's journey, people, a lot of people either A don't know it B don't understand it or whatever, or maybe they just need to get refamiliarized with it in general to basically offset and just kind of say like, dude, what you want is sometimes it's be careful what you ask for because you might get it,
Hmm.
but some of the stuff that you ask for you don't want it in the first place.
Yeah. Sometimes
Um,
the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is that you get exactly what you've been asking for.
well, what do they tell you about the casino? The worst thing that can happen to you at a casino is what?
You can go in and win your first time go around.
That you win, period.
Yeah.
Because on the back end of that statement, who always wins?
The
The
house.
house. And here's the thing: for those of y'all who think it's a joke, go in and go look it up on ChatGPT. Google how many people have actually taken the house at a casino and been allowed back.
Yeah.
If you go in there and you just rake them, you will never be back at their casino again.
Well, and the other side is, uh,
And hold on, one more thing.
yeah,
As much as treachery that goes around, there is honor amongst thieves. Because if you do that to Horseshoe, Ameristar will call Horseshoe will call Ameristar and let them know about you.
yeah, yeah,
And then Horseshoe will call Binions or whoever else is probably all the same thing. But they'll all let each other know about you.
Well, the last piece about it is, and not the last piece, but I know Vegas has been in an economic downturn because they've made it so they've pushed the middle class people that have normally been providing their entire economic framework out.
Out.
So the middle class vacationers is no longer a cheap vacation to go to Vegas, and they've done it by removing a lot of incentive. They've made the buffet super expensive. You don't get comped for anything as a gambler, and they've even gone to the point of like I used to do blackjack a lot. Like I was pretty good at blackjack. Um, Vegas has changed the odds on their blackjack. They've changed, how many decks are in the shoe and all kinds of other stuff. It shifts the odds. It's microscopic on paper, but it is huge in application. They've shifted the odds more towards the house because it used to be your best odds against the house was blackjack because you're more in control of the luck and the decision making process.
Right.
It's not is you have a little bit more control over it. But yeah, man, they've changed the odds table. So that and they've driven a lot of middle class people out of Vegas uh just because they shifted the odds and they made it, yeah, because of those shifted odds. They shifted the odds, and you got a lot of private equity involved. And so they're like going after the whales and everything, not understanding that when you start hunting all the whales, eventually there's not enough whales to snipe
Right.
because whales get hip to it and like, oh, y'all just trying to juice us, and it's boring now. It's passe. I have the option to go instead of going to Vegas, I'll just go to Monaco. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I can afford to go gamble other places. And so the economics of Vegas has always been a middle class vacation for regular people that are just looking to get away from their mundane lives. They've chased all those people out of town. When my wife and went a couple when my wife and I went for me and my from our agency, we traveled as my marketing agency. When we went to Vegas, it was not made for regular people anymore.
Hmm.
Like it's $8 bottle of water. You know what I'm saying? Dude at the front desk is like, hey, don't drink the waters in the fridge. Please don't. If you drink the waters that are in your room fridge, that's going to be another $80 that we add to your bill.
Hmm.
Crazy work. They made it so that it's not GLPs a factor. People just don't want to eat as much or drink alcohol. GLPs cause them not to gamble like they used to. Yeah, there's some aspects of it where it reduces um, your impulsivity and your addictive behaviors too. Uh,
Hmm.
but a lot of the seasoned gamblers are turned off of Vegas just because they screwed up the odds table.
Oh
You
well.
you can't like they've made it impossible for you to ever really win in that small window that you could actually win and make money. Um, And so we are far afield of what we're talking about. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to put a stake in this conversation. New Year's resolutions. We're going to say, oh, you live in Vegas. Yeah. Things are so expensive here now. Yeah. We came down and experienced it like this is too expensive to be sustainable for a regular vacation. These used to be cheap. I live in Vegas. Oh, so you're feeling it for real, for real. But yeah, we're gonna put a stake in the conversation. Next week, we're gonna be deconstructing
48 laws, man.
48 laws of power. To put a pin in what we're saying, your New Year's resolutions, as you imagine them, are kind of BS. You have to set a framework so that you can make the change. My take is if you decide you need to change things, start making the incremental change now. And then by New Year's, you already have the framework laid out. It's not too late. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Be kind to yourself in this process of change, and don't beat yourself up if you don't quite hit the goal that you're aiming for. At least you're further along than when you started. That's all I got.
Okay.
Fearless, do you have anything?
I actually do not.
All right, cool.
I'm good to GO.
Do you want me to drop your QR code up there so people can call Fearless?
I'm looking. No. I think I'm gonna change some stuff up a little bit.
All right, I'll throw mine up there. This is my QR code for my stand store. This is where I have all my social media marketing tools. I have an entire pack full of engineered AI prompts that I use to analyze businesses and write content and things along those lines. The marketing stuff is really based on my decades of experience, plus a lot of the sources that I've read and referenced. And so when you utilize one of these prompts, it's going to say, take somebody through the 5 layers of awareness and stuff like that. And so these are prompts that you can copy and paste into your AI of choice and get outputs, because one of the things about utilizing ChatGPT or Claude or whatever else you're utilizing, even Gemini, and Gemini is really, really good now. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have garbage prompts on the front end, you're not going to get great outputs. And so I have those for sale. Plus, I do have my school community that I've opened up where I'll teach you how to create content that makes money. So that's what I got. I do appreciate you. We'll be back at y'all next week. 48 Laws of Power. We're kind of deconstruct it. We'll talk to you later. It's Brian and Fearless with Trial and Error.
Doses.